Standing here now with one of the marine biologists, people that came down to do the autopsy on our whale, and Greg Dobbin, and he's here from the University of Prince Edward Island. And Greg, what's your job there at the university?
I work in the Department of Pathology. I'm a lab technologist. I do research support for the pathologists at the Atlantic Veterinary College. And fortunately for me, I get to work with our wildlife pathologist, Pierre Daou. And we go to whale strandings, and as you had here, a dead whale washing up. And we go to try and ascertain as much information as we can from the whale to see if we can figure out why it died and so on. And
now, from what you've gathered over the last couple of days, got any indication what might have happened to our whale?
I'm really not qualified to speak to that. If you're going to interview Pierre,
yes, we are.
Pierre's the veterinarian that did the pathology, and he could tell you more of what he found. It's really hard to determine, as he'll indicate, hard to determine when the whale is so decomposed.
Now, was this your first trip to Newfoundland?
Yes, tremendous experience.
Now, during the supper here tonight, I heard you mention that you would like to come back and bring your wife back. You got any idea how soon you'll be back?
Oh, definitely make it for the opening of your new Heritage Center. Maybe if I could swing it next year, I'd come back, but certainly I'll come back to see you in 2000.
Now, you were served a moose supper. Is this the first time you have eaten moose?
No, it's not. I've had Cape Breton moose before. Almost as good.
Now, there's an ad on that Newfoundland, we've got the only Newfoundland moose, so I guess there was a little different taste?
Not enough experience to say, but it was definitely a very good meal.
Now, you also tried one other thing, the brawn. What do you think of the brawn?
It was tasty. I had already started my dessert, so I didn't really feel like going back into meat, but yeah, it was good.
Now, so you will be coming back here, and what do you think of the hospitality of the people in this area?
Best to find anywhere. I tell you, the whole region could learn from these two villages.
Okay, when you come back in now, don't forget to look us up again, and we'll do our best to make you feel at home. With Pierre Daou, and Pierre is the man that came down here to tell us, or try to tell us, what happened to our whale that beached there last Friday. Now, Pierre, welcome to the area.
It's my pleasure to come here. I have had a very good time here, and it has been very interesting from many perspectives. The whale was one, the people were certainly a good part of it as well.
Now, Pierre, at the University of Prince Edward Island, what exact job do you do?
I am a veterinary pathologist, so it means I'm specialized in determining the cause of death in animals. And on top of that, I'm specialized in wildlife, so I do a variety of work on a variety of animal species, marine birds, marine mammals, including seals and whales, based on just because of the location of our veterinary college on PEI. We deal a lot with marine animals.
Now, like I asked all the others, is this your first trip to Newfoundland?
It's not my first trip to Newfoundland. I've come here before for pleasure. On the west coast of PEI, I've come here for business, mainly on the east coast of PEI. It's really my first opportunity to spend some time in between the east and the west coast, and I'm very grateful for that.
So, and how did you find the hospitality and the lodgings that you were put up with?
Unbeatable. It has been great from beginning to end. I was not expecting that. You see, I was coming here on business, okay? I had necropsy to do, I had an autopsy of that whale to do, and my main purpose was to learn from that whale, and I had not taken into account the interest of the people. And I've seen that before, but this was overwhelming. Not overwhelming, it was just really exciting for me to see the interest of the people, and their hospitality was something else.
Now, have you ever done an autopsy on a whale before with as many spectators as you had?
Well, that's it. Yeah, in most cases, people are very excited about big whales. They flock around and they ask questions, but not like here. There was not the involvement. In other situations, there has not been the involvement of the people that I've seen here. So that's what I found so interesting, and that's why I gained so much out of that.
Now, we also had busloads of kids come in from the schools. How did you enjoy the visits from the kids?
It was too fast. I was too busy. I would have liked to spend more time with them, but they came right in the middle of the work, and I explained a bit what I was doing, and I know that there were lots of kids who had questions to ask, and I didn't have enough time to spend with them. Fortunately, this morning Dr. Leon went to the school here, and I was there with my colleague Greg Dobin, and we had a bit of time to interact. So I felt a bit better that I had this opportunity this morning to go to the school. That helped a bit.
Now, what most people out there is wondering during your autopsy, did you come up with any clues of what may have happened to our whale?
Not really, and I'm not surprised. These are big whales. They decompose very fast, and it's very difficult to find some specific damage that will give you exactly the cause of death. But that's part of the exercise, and it doesn't mean that because we'll never come up with an exact answer that we have not learned an awful lot. In those cases, it doesn't mean that a single whale is the answer. We have to look at several of them, and over time we see patterns developing, and we are better able at determining what's going on. And that was one main purpose for me to come here and gain the experience of doing those big whales. I've done some before, but I can do a lot more before I feel that I start to know something. There is a lot to learn from these big animals, for sure.
Now, we understand that this is a very rare sighting in Newfoundland. What would be the explanation of this whale being so far south?
You see, if we had been able to determine the cause of death, perhaps we would have been able to better answer this question. But at least we know that she was a young animal, and knowing that she is a bowhead whale, that she is quite far from her range, and I'm starting to wonder whether she was not separated from her family for quite some time, and that she may have started to lose condition. She was not able to forage, to feed for herself very well, and this may have predisposed her to predators, maybe like sharks possibly, and some of the damage to the skin suggested that, or perhaps other disease conditions that we could not assess because she was too decomposed. So the fact that she is quite young and that she is so far from her range already tells us that she had been in trouble for quite some time.
You know, hopefully in the future we'll have a lot of answers to come back, and when we get our Heritage Centre hopefully set up, we'll have those answers to put in our heritage.
You may have some answers. Again, I suspect we'll never have complete answers on this single animal, but she would have helped us to understand better other animals, and at least in more ways than one, she will not she will not have been wasted.
Now, most important, before we let you go, are you planning on coming back to visit Rattling Brook, Kings Point area again?
I have to. I must. There are too many people I've met now that there are many reasons why I should come back with my wife and kids, for sure.
Now, I understood, listening to you over the last few days, that you like to do a bit of hiking too. You'd like to do the trail, the Alexander Murray hiking trail?
Well, if you ask my personal opinion, that's only one thing that would attract me. My wife really likes hiking, and with our kids now, the oldest is only 14, but already they are better able to hike. And knowing that it is a beautiful site, there are very nice people here, and there is a hiking trail, that would be another good advantage for us to come.
Well, thanks very much, and hopefully you'll be back in the near future.
Thank you very much for the tremendous hospitality of this community.
Thank you. And Amy is another one of the specialists that came in for our whale autopsy. And Amy, welcome to the area.
Thank you.
Now, will you tell us a little bit about the job that you do and where you came in from?
Yes, I work at the New England Aquarium in Boston, Massachusetts, and I work on a project that focuses on North Atlantic right whales.
Now, coming into this small town and to what you thought was a right whale, how long did it take you to recognize when you got here that it was not a right whale, it actually was a boa whale?
Actually, we couldn't tell until the morning where it got hauled ashore and the tide went out and we could see the head of the animal, which had been submerged all along.
Now, for the people with us watching this, what would you be looking for to distinguish so quickly the difference between the bowhead and the right whale?
Well, right whales on the top of their head have something called callosity tissue, which is cornified skin tissue, which erupts it's sort of spiky and rough, whereas the skin around it is quite smooth. Now on a bowhead, you don't have any of that callosity tissue at all, so it's all smooth on the top of the head, and that was the difference I saw when I saw the head exposed.
So that was the difference that told you that it was a bowhead and not a right whale?
Yeah, that was the primary difference, and then when I looked around some more, I noticed that the underside of the jaw had a coloration towards the tip of it that was whitish in color, whereas right whales would be black in color. And also on the tip of the dorsal snout, it was also whitish in color towards the tip. So that was another difference, but that was secondary because I wasn't sure if that was just caused by the skin breaking down and turning white underneath it.
Now, a whale in the beach in Rattling Brook, what would that have an interest to somebody in the United States?
You mean a right whale or
Yes.
Well, a right whale has tremendous interest because we know the right whale population so well, and we've documented that there are about 300 individuals. Now, the bowhead population is also as endangered in the North Atlantic with maybe 300 to 500 individuals, but they're not as well studied, so we don't know the individuals quite as well. But it's equally as interesting to see a bowhead as a right whale.
Now, how many of these big whales have you worked on?
Oh, this is probably my 8th or 9th autopsy of a large whale. I've done about 8 right whales, and this is my first bowhead.
Now, this must be a very interesting thing to get involved in. How would a woman get involved in the science field of doing autopsies on animals and stuff like that?
Well, the way I got involved in right whale research was that I started as a volunteer right out of college. I was a geography major in college, very interested in science all through high school and college. And I started volunteering on the right whale project because I had a real strong interest in marine studies of any sort. And I learned about this project and got involved. I think other ways to get involved with marine mammals, it's maybe a growing field, is through veterinary work. One of the guys that worked with us is a vet at University of PEI, and there's not that many people that have a strong knowledge in marine mammal veterinary studies.
Now, we asked all the rest, is this your first trip to Newfoundland, and especially a small town like Rattling Brook?
Well, it's actually my second trip. A number of years ago was in Rocky Harbor in Grossmorn Park, but this is the first time I've had such a wonderful experience.
Now, what do you think of the hospitality and generosity of the people, and how they got out and supported you guys when you were doing your autopsy on the beach?
I've never seen anything like it in all the dead animals I've had to deal with and all the places I've traveled for a whale work. It's just been outstanding and really wonderful experience.
Well, hopefully we'll see you come back again for a visit.
Definitely, Kathy and I would love to come back and see the museum that you all put together and come see the whale once again.
Thanks very much. No?
Thank you.
Quinn and Kathy is one more of these specialists that came in to do the autopsy on our whale that beats itself here in Rattling Brook. And Kathy, welcome to the area.
Thank you.
Now, Kathy, will you tell us a little bit about what interest you had in coming here to Rattling Brook to do the autopsy on the whale?
Sure. Initially, when we got the report back in Boston, we thought it was a right whale, and so that's one of the initial reason why we came here, both Amy and myself, and it was 2 things. If it was a right whale, we'd be able to hopefully identify that individual and match it to the animals in the catalog that we have back in Boston, which helps us throughout, looking at all of our data. And secondly, we were going to try to use this ultrasound probe that has been developed by a group of scientists that we work with in Woods Hole. And measure the thickness of the blubber layer on this whale and use it as another data point. They're doing a study on measuring the thickness of the blubber and trying to determine the health of northern right whales based on that in comparison with southern right whales. And so when we found out it was a bowhead whale, we still were able to do that, and it was really it was good. I think it will be interesting data for those scientists, and so that's initially why we came here.
Now, as a young lady involved in science, I noticed you were up to what we call it up to your elbows in blood and guts. You enjoy that type of work?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, we see so many of these animals alive when we're in the field, especially we're in the Bay of Fundy quite a bit during the summer months, where congregation of right whales in particular are. But we see a lot of different whale species, and when you see them alive, you don't see so much of them because they're below the surface, and usually you'll see their blowholes or their flukes. And then besides that, you don't see as much. So when you really get up and kind of into the midst of things and cutting into the whale, you can learn a lot, and it's always a learning experience from our standpoint. So
now, this morning, did you get the chance to observe the smaller type whales that was in the bay?
We didn't actually see them, but we did hear about them. We heard there was quite a bit of dolphins as well, and it sounded like it was amazing. We got a phone call this morning that we should run out and look out the window because there were whales around. So, unfortunately, we missed them.
Anyways, is this your first trip to this area?
It is, and it's been great. It's been really enjoyable.
And what would be one of the interests that would bring you back to this area?
Well, I really hoped to, Amy and I myself have both talked about coming back in a few years when you have the museum up and running and we have the carcass back together. It would be really special to come back to this area. And beyond that, the people have been really, really great, and we really appreciate everything. So there's two big things, two big reasons.
Thanks very much, now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lynn and John, exactly what is the title that you carry?
Well, I work at the university and I'm an honorary research professor there.
Now, we know this is not your first trip to Newfoundland because you actually work in St. John's, right?
Yeah, I've lived in Newfoundland now for 30 years, so I've worked here a long time.
And we heard a little bit earlier, it's not your first trip to this area, but is it your first trip to Rattling Brook?
No, I've visited Rattling Brook before, but I haven't worked here on a whale. This is the first whale I've worked on in Rattling Brook. But I think this is your first big stranding in Rattling Brook, too, that I know of.
Yes. Now, quite an experience bringing in a team of scientists like this to a small town. What type of work goes into putting together this type of thing on a quick notice?
Well, all I do is make a few phone calls. Most scientists who work in similar areas know each other, and so I just make the phone call and say, look, would you like to join me on this particular project? And everybody I called said, yep, and so they all showed up. It's as simple as that.
Now, we were wondering, we were just talking to Kathy after we finished interviewing her, and we wondered, on this type of an expedition, do you ever get community channel cameras? Maybe you get CBC and the NTV chasing you around, but ever this much interest in the local community channels before?
Well, we have made programs fairly often with community channels, but oftentimes we have to chase them. In this case, I think you've been chasing us more than we've been chasing you. So it's very nice to have a community channel that's so involved in the projects, yeah.
Now, with the benefit of the cameras that were following you in the last few days, do you think there will be any interest in this in the future, probably for educational reasons?
Oh, I think so. What I found as I go around is people really like to look at the way we were. And some of the old whale projects that we were involved in, when I see television of those, it's amazing to find out how things have changed. So I think people will find the video that we've shot today in the future very interesting, yeah.
Now, John, the hospitality of a small town like this, I'm sure you've probably experienced similar, but have you ever experienced so much hospitality and generosity of the people?
Well, this has been a wonderful experience. No, I think this sets the new record. Newfoundlanders are gracious people and they appreciate what you do for them. And I've always felt very privileged working as I do out and about. I think I've been to almost every Newfoundland community at least once. And, but the kind of hospitality and the help we've had here is really remarkable, and we really appreciate it.
Now, we interviewed a young fellow from Brazil today earlier, but he didn't get to attend the supper tonight. What special fields did he bring in with your team?
Well, we have a project in our group to try and figure out the reproductive status of whales that are swimming around wild. And to do this, we shoot them with a little biopsy dart, and then we examine that for particular chemicals called hormones. And from that, we try and find out if they're male or female and if they're mature or immature. And that's a great help to biologists in assessing the status of a population. So his particular project was to work on that analyses and try to help us figure that out. In his own school in Brazil, they didn't have the capacity to work on that, but he was interested in hormones, so I said he could come here and work with us on our particular project as a way of learning. So this summer we had 3 Brazilians working with us, and then they go back to their home country and apply what they've learned at our university back there.
What would be one of the best things that you ever relate in your experiences dealing with whales?
Well, I don't know if there's a single experience I can tell about as the best one. There's been a lot of really good ones. I think, I appreciate the people as much as I do the whales. I like working with animals, and I certainly enjoy wrestling with whales when they're in fishing gear and getting them out and saving the nets and so on. But I also like these strandings where we can work with a community to try and make sure that the animal is used in some way. So I have a hard time picking my favorite kind of experience, I think.
Now, while you were here doing the autopsy on this whale, you spent some time with the children in the school.
Yeah.
How does that play into going out to do an autopsy on a whale?
Well, I work at a university, and an important function of a university is education. And we want to have the kids exposed to professors so they know what professors are like and they can see what we do in universities. So we go into the schools and we say, this is what I am, and this is what I do, and this is how I do it, and I'd like to tell you about it. And we're very happy in the case here where all the schools were let out and they came and watched us so they could actually see that we stink and we work hard and we try and learn something. And then we try and explain that what they're doing in school is directly relevant to getting a job like we have. To become a scientist at a university or to become a researcher at a aquarium, you really have to do a lot of study back in the grades and back in high school, and those things you do there are very connected to the kind of job you get. So we explain that, and hopefully the kids have a good time listening to us.
Now, some of the classes you attended today, what type of reaction did you get from the kids in the schools?
Well, kids like to ask you questions. And so I've answered a lot of questions, even more than you asked me today. So that's one of the reactions. I think the kids enjoy the stories, and they like to hear about whales, and they like to hear that grown-ups have so much fun doing their work and things like that. So I think, they generally enjoy what you do and ask a lot of questions about it.
Now, John, we hope you enjoyed your stay here, and hopefully we'll see you back in this area again.
Well, thanks. Yeah, we really appreciate your efforts, and we will come back, and we're hoping to come back with a whale that's all cleaned up and ready to go out for a new date.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.